Hey buddy, watch this.
Hello, Regis Kilbin is the name, and Hearthstone is the game, and these are the 10 cards I'll miss most in the Year of the Mammoth standard rotation. Now, if you're not familiar with a new rotation that's going to be hitting very soon, essentially 3 expansions / adventures are going to be rotating out of standard format. Those include Blackrock Mountain, the Grand Tournament, and League of Explorers, and there are going to be a handful of cards that I am absolutely dearly going to miss in standard format. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and jump into the list. Starting off with number 10, it's the Paladin card, Keeper of Aldermen. This one might surprise some people because it's not a card you see all the time, especially lately when Paladin has lost popularity on the ranked ladder. But I absolutely adore the design of this card. It feels like a really fun, flexible, well-balanced card. Nobody ever complained about it, but it saw a lot of play in Paladin when Paladin was popular. Essentially, it's a card that serves in both an aggressive capacity and in a defensive capacity as needed. In other words, you can turn a 1/1 minion into a 3/3 to get a more aggressive stance on the board. Alternatively, you can turn a Ragnaros into a 3/3 to set up a trade. So it serves as pseudo removal, but also pseudo board building aggressive style play, which is really neat and fun, and I'd like to see more cards that are flexible and still balanced like this in Hearthstone. Up next at the number 9 spot is Justicar Trueheart. Really one of the only legendaries that absolutely gripped the meta from the Grand Tournament. In fact, really one of the only cards from the Grand Tournament that really ever stood the test of time. And even now this card doesn't see a ton of play, so I'm not sure that's exactly true anymore. But for a while there, Justicar Trueheart was really prominent in control style decks, particularly Control Warrior, where you'd get that +4 armor tank up every turn, and you just climb in armor totals, and you get like 60, 80, 100 armor. And I really liked playing Control Warrior in that era with Justicar Trueheart, so this card means a lot to me personally. I also just think it had a neat design. It was really the only one that ever properly utilized the emphasis on hero powers from that expansion with all the Inspire effects and stuff. Justicar Trueheart really seems like the only card that got it right, even though she's not actually an Inspire card, just falls along that hero power theme. So a card that was really neat, still felt balanced, a lot of fun, and it will be sorely missed. Up next at the number 8 spot is Emperor Thoris. This guy really, you don't have to say too much. He's an incredibly strong card. He's been included in a vast variety of decks since his release. And what makes Emperor Thoris so great is that because of his mana cost reduction effect, he enables all kinds of things that weren't previously possible in Hearthstone and won't actually be possible again once he's gone. So all kinds of cool combos and fun new stuff that you could never do before. So even though this card might be a tad overpowered in the scheme of things, I still think he was a really nice inclusion for the game and changed a lot of how we think and play Hearthstone. Moving on to the number 7 spot, this one won't surprise a lot of people. It's Reno Jackson. Much like Emperor Thoris before him, this is a card that absolutely changed how we think about Hearthstone. He enabled a brand new archetype all on his own, the Reno style, which it seems like is going to carry on throughout future expansions. Even though we lose Reno Jackson, I still loved this card because he enabled a really firm grip on a control style of play, which I personally enjoy a lot. And he enabled so many different kinds of decks, and I've loved playing Reno Mage and Reno Warlock with this guy in tow. So I'm sad to see Reno Jackson go. I don't think we'll be rich any longer. Now let's take a look at my number 6 card. This one is Imp Gang Boss. Much like the Keeper of Aldermen before it, I think Imp Gang Boss is another card that sort of fits in both aggressive styles of play and in control styles of play. This card is a staple in Zoo-style Warlocks, where it's all about building the board and getting a really sticky minion out there that you can capitalize on its board presence with. But it's also really popular in Reno Lock-style decks, where it just serves as a great mana-efficient early play that can contest really aggressive starts from your opponent by making a lot of good trades and sticking around and producing extra stats on the board that help you keep up in the early game. And I love playing both Zoo and Reno Lock, so Imp Gang Boss has been a card I've loved ever since its release with Blackrock Mountain, and I don't know how Warlock is going to be able to fill the hole that Imp Gang Boss leaves behind. So now it's time for my top 5, starting off with a card that will probably surprise a lot of people, but I have been a champion for this card for a long time, and nobody else seems to buy in quite as much as I do. I love Chillmaw. I think this card has been criminally underrated since its release. A lot of people love cards like Draconid Crusher, which is a big 6/6 that can be a big 9/9, just providing that big dragon body in dragon style decks. But I often wonder sometimes why we don't just run Chillmaw instead, particularly if your dragon deck has any sort of late game defensive capabilities. This card can just be so efficient as a big-bodied taunt that can deny an opponent from building a board and create a lot of friction in how they play the game because they can't develop minions or they really risk destroying everything they've set up because of Chillmaw. So I love dragon decks, particularly big late-game oriented dragon decks, and I've always made a home for Chillmaw, particularly in combination with N'Zoth, which is just an unbelievable combo. Especially if you just run Chillmaw as your only dragon and you don't risk blowing up your own N'Zoth board. That's one of my favorite things, is sort of a niche pick in a N'Zoth deck. So I will stand by Chillmaw probably until the end of time. I really just want to love this card. I know most people don't think it's very good, but I'm going to keep making the case for Chillmaw as long as I can. So I'll be sad to only be able to play this guy in Wild moving forward. At the number 4 spot is Sir Finley Murgleton. I mean, come on. It's a Murloc holding a machete, dressed in adventuring gear with a monocle. That is literally all that has to be said. Moving on to the top 3, it's pretty obvious that League of Explorers got something right when it comes to its legendary cards, because here we go, the 3rd League of Explorers legendary on this list. It's Elise Starseeker. I just love that Elise introduced a cool new mechanic to the game, which is essentially going on an adventure or a quest, and that you had to complete multiple conditions for her effect to really become powerful, and then suddenly you unlocked this new world where you got tons of legendaries. Now, Elise Starseeker has not been popular lately, but there have been eras in Hearthstone's past where this card was really good, and you got to have those super fun late game battles where both of you had played an Elise, you both got your golden monkeys, and suddenly you're just dropping legendary after legendary. And that's such a unique aspect of the game that I'm going to miss, and I've already been missing because it's not something we've seen in a while because Hearthstone's just too fast right now. But this card seems like it's going to live on in some way or another with the new quest mechanic that's being introduced with Journey to Unguro. So at least the heart or the spirit or the soul of Elise Starseeker will continue on even though she is being lost in the woods of Wild's format. Moving on to my number 2 card, this one is less about a card that I just love or adore and more about a card that I'm practically going to miss because I like playing dragon decks a ton. I've been playing Dragon Warrior and Dragon Priest and been fitting dragons into stuff like Reno Mage and Reno Warlock, and Blackwing Corruptor is absolutely central to making a good dragon deck because it's such a good tempo swing on the board. Being able to kill something and develop a body is just too good to pass up. And with this card leaving standard format, I just don't know that dragon decks are going to be able to survive without some sort of suitable replacement that has the same board swing effect. So I hope that the loss of Blackwing Corruptor doesn't also mean the loss of dragon decks in standard format. And then finally, the number 1 card that I'll miss most as we rotate into the Year of the Mammoth is Bran Bronzebeard, yet another League of Explorers legendary card. Bran is just the ultimate fun card in Hearthstone for me. You can basically do anything you want with Bran. You can turn him into a really good card that's a key part of a deck, or you can make it all about memes with Bran Bronzebeard, building goofy, crazy, fun stuff too. And I like that kind of card that adds to both the competitive aspect of Hearthstone, but also to the fun side of things. So I miss Bran Bronzebeard's happy, smiling face already, and I hate that we're losing this guy to Wild format. So there you have it. Those are the 10 cards I'm going to miss most as they rotate to Wild format in the Year of the Mammoth. Archthief Rafam, unfortunately, on this screen was not one of those cards. Sorry, buddy, the other 4 have you beat here. But I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about this topic. What cards are you going to miss the most? Whether that's because they're core parts of your favorite decks or simply because you liked the voice line or the artwork or whatever other crazy reason, I don't care. It's sad that we have to see cards retired to Wild format. So I want to hear your opinion and your take. Leave a comment below with your top cards rotating out. But until then, thanks so much for watching, and until next time, game on.